Thank you again for everyone for joining us. And I want to go ahead and toss over to our Deputy Commissioner, Ryan King, who will welcome everyone.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Samantha. On behalf of Commissioner Holt and Governor Lee, I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning about an exciting program that we're happy to be getting underway about just something that devastated our state and had broad scale impact across our state a couple of years back. So again, thank you for joining us. I know that everyone has a busy morning ahead of them and probably lots of things you would rather be doing other than listening to the government present a webinar at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the morning. So we'll be cognizant of that. Hopefully your area got some of the much needed rain that passed through our state last night, or you're expecting rain in the next day or two. We've got areas across the state that are in severe drought, and just continued prayers for some moisture as people are trying to get crops out of the ground. I also want to thank our team. You heard from Samantha earlier, but several members of our team have put lots of great work into this project, both to get it out of the ground and to be administering the program on a go forward basis. So we absolutely have a debt of gratitude to them. Helene was one of the biggest natural disasters in our state's history. And many of you, especially those of you who are immediately affected in North Tennessee, know its impacts. Just widespread devastation to farm and forest land and significant crop losses and damage to timber stands. Perhaps one of the biggest losses that we've been told about are to infrastructure and farm infrastructure, barns, farm roads, fences, etc., and then just continued sort of financial strain that has followed that. So the purpose of this fund is to be a bridge and to help overcome some of those hardships. I do want to be clear that our goal here at the Department of Agriculture for the block grant program is to get dollars out the door and into the hands of producers as quickly and as efficiently as we can. We think that is one of the best parts of block grants, is that state government has the ability to get dollars out the door through our mechanisms and using means that maybe the federal government isn't able, and cut through some of that red tape and get directly into producer hands. So we're extremely pleased that last week it was made official that the block grant would be coming through to the state, and Governor Lee and Commissioner Holt were able to officially sign the block grant at a ceremony at the state capitol in the governor's office. So extremely proud of that. Guys, there's lots of things I would like to say here, but I also recognize that our team has lots of good materials for you. I know you'll probably have specific questions about the program, most of which they'll be able to answer, or they'll get answered through their presentations as we go through. So the main thing I want to say is thank you all for joining us. I know it's for the producers who were joining us here. You know, you would rather be doing something else and not working through this hardship, and we're absolutely sensitive to that. But happy to help you with anything. I think you're going to recognize that our team is wonderful and ready to help. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel Hauber, who has been leading the program in terms of the administration of the program here at the Department of Agriculture. Rachel.
Great. Thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner King. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining this afternoon. My name is Rachel Hauber, Project Manager, working on this program, as was just stated. I just wanted to start things off by sharing our contact information. I believe Soraya posted a lot of this information in the chat. But again, our webpage is linked here. And once we finish the presentation, this will be on our webpage as well, and you'll be able to find all of this information there. Again, our email, ag.recovery@tn.gov, and we have 2 phone lines, one toll-free and one 615 number. And we do staff that phone line and constantly monitoring the email box between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If we're unavailable for whatever reason, or you contact us after hours, we will get back to you the next business day. All right. So before digging into some of the meat of the program and application, I just wanted to start things off with providing just a very quick overview of the program, including timeline and eligibility. Then we'll turn it over to other members of the team to talk through what that required documentation will look like, walk through the actual application process, provide some additional resources, and then end with Q&A. So after Hurricane Helene caused major wind and flood damage in East Tennessee in September 2024, the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, with USDA funding, created this Hurricane Helene Agricultural and Timber Relief Fund to help those affected farmers and forest landowners recover. The program is designed to help offset a portion of your eligible verified agricultural and timber damages in 8 eligible counties to really restore productivity and stability to your land and businesses. Note that this program is designed to support recovery and not expansion of farms or forest lands. So as you can see from this timeline, we've been actively working in cooperation with the USDA for many, many months, first to execute an agreement, and then finally the fully executed work plan. As mentioned earlier, we were able to officially launch the application last week on April 22nd with a ceremony with the governor, which was very exciting. The application will remain open until 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, July 21st. So that's a full 90 days for people to go in, review the requirements, and submit your application. Although we will be reviewing applications as they come in, applicants won't be notified until after the application period ends, and notifications and payments will be shared later this year in the fall, most likely in the September-October time range. So who can apply? The people who can apply are farm or forest landowners, including individuals, families, and agribusinesses. Producers with documented crop or timber losses caused by Hurricane Helene, or producers who lease land for agricultural or forestry production and can also document eligible losses, are also eligible. As noted before, operations must be located in at least one of 8 Helene declared disaster counties, including Carter, Cocke, Greene, Hamblin, Hawkins, Johnson, Unicoi, and Washington. We'll be looking at losses in 4 main areas: infrastructure, future economic, market, and timber. Each of these categories focus on types of damage that hasn't been covered by other funding sources. This slide here provides an overview of what specific losses fall under each category. So starting with infrastructure, eligible losses can include above ground irrigation, on-farm roads, bridges, and culverts, high tunnels or hoop houses, silos or steel grain silos, poles or general purpose barns, fruit or vegetable packing houses or cold storage buildings, and tobacco curing barns. Future economic losses include perennial crops that were destroyed by the storm and may take many years to recover. And market losses can be demonstrated by showing that you had mature crops that were spoiled or had to be discarded before they could be sold due to a lost sales contract, if the market where it was to be sold was damaged or destroyed as part of the hurricane. And then finally, timber losses include a minimum of 10 contiguous acres with moderate or severe level of timber damage. And that moderate damage is represented by 16% of that forested area. Please note that to be eligible for one of those first three losses, the infrastructure, future economic, and market, your property must be at least 10 acres and you must be able to demonstrate a minimum of $1,000 loss. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about all of this in the presentation. So on this slide, we're just highlighting some examples that may be eligible under this program. So first, for infrastructure loss, again, this includes damage to physical structures that are essential to farm operations. For example, an equipment barn that collapsed during the storm or an access bridge to a farm that was washed out. Next is that future economic loss. Again, this focuses on perennial crops, plants that take years to mature before they can generate an income. So examples include apple orchards, grapevines, or Christmas trees. Next is that market loss category, and this applies when a producer lost a sales opportunity because the crops were destroyed or lost before they could be sold. For instance, if a grower had a contract in place but couldn't deliver the product due to the hurricane, that would be an eligible loss. And finally, timber loss. An example of this includes hardwood or softwood trees that were snapped or uprooted across a single tract. So again, these are just basic examples that will help you determine your eligibility. And we'll go again into more detail about what that documentation looks like. And at this time, I'm actually going to turn it over to Mike to talk through some of that. So Mike, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to do just a brief overview of some of the documents that are going to be necessary when filling out this application. We encourage everyone to get these documents together beforehand, as it makes the application process go much smoother. There are some things that are common to all applicants. We're going to ask for proof of ownership or legal responsibility. This could be a deed or a title. If leasing the land, it could be a rental agreement. We're going to ask for those types of forms. Everyone will be required to fill out a W-9 form. It's an IRS form. This will facilitate getting paid later on in the process. And if you're applying for on behalf of a business or trust or individual, we're going to need to see proof of power of attorney or the articles of incorporation if it's a business. As far as forest land information goes, we're going to need information about the location of the land. This could include the property address, which is not necessarily the same as the mailing address. If the farm could be separate from a mailing address for you as an operator. We're going to need the farm or forest land latitude and longitude. There is a link inside the application that will take you to a website where you can look this information up. And the tax parcel ID. Again, there's a link inside the application that's going to allow this to be looked up fairly simply. If you have an FSA number, we're going to ask for that. And a land use classification. This could be a tax abatement document, or perhaps agricultural records or documentation, or some GIS maps that will show what was going on at the time the hurricane hit. Next slide, please. Those of you who are applying for loss, if you're applying for infrastructure loss, we're going to ask for proof of damage to infrastructure. This would include 3 to 5 photos per structure in a horizontal layout, preferably time-stamped before and after the hurricane. Blueprints or schematics if you have them. An estimate of repairs. If you repaired the infrastructure already, we would like to see the estimate of repairs so we'll know how much was exactly spent. If you received any insurance or funds from other sources that would offset these losses, we need to see those. This would be insurance claim or any invoices or receipts from funds that were coming in. If you're claiming future economic loss for perennial crops, this would be orchard crops or berry crops, Christmas trees, as Rachel alluded to earlier. We need to see yield receipts from the previous year's crop. Photos, again, preferably time-stamped. Land parcel information, anything that you can tell us about the land. If available, a confirmation letter from an extension agent or specialist to support the percentage of your loss. And it's also nice to have some university research regarding the productive life cycle of the fruit trees or bush plants. Again, if you've received any insurance claims or any other foreign funds from other sources, then we need to see the proof of the insurance, or possibly say a non-insured disaster assistance program uh, claim there, or NAP. So next slide. If you've experienced market loss, again, we need to see proof of damage. This would be documentation or evidence of the harvested crop. This could be photos. This could be other records that show what's going on there. Uh, Probably most importantly, cancel sale records. This would be if the contract was canceled or you received an email saying that they could not take delivery of the crop, even though the crop was viable at the time. We definitely need to see those. And also any inventory records you might have. And again, if you received any insurance or other funds, we need to see proof of that so we can back those out. That would be the insurance claim, invoices or receipts, or any NAP payment proof that you may have received. For those of you claiming timber loss, the proof there would be the proof that the timber was on 10 contiguous acres under the same ownership. We're going to ask for at least 3 photos of the damaged timber, an aerial map, and also a farm management plan for a minimum of a 10-year plan cycle that's going to be given by an accredited forester. Now, there is some cost sharing provided for this. For those of you who are claiming the timber loss, you can see that there's a link to the forest management template and a list of accredited foresters, and more information on the cost sharing available on our webpage at the website that is shown. I'm going to pause for just a second to let people take pictures of that, but this is recorded just in case someone needs to go back and look at this link, as it is rather lengthy. And that's just a very brief overview of what we're going to need, what the documents you will need when filling out this application. So with that, I think that's covered my part of the presentation. So I will turn it over to Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Edwards, the project coordinator, auditor, excuse me, and monitor, and I'll be highlighting some important details about our application process. Then later in the webinar, we'll have a live demonstration that'll make more sense of some of the things that I'm going over. First, we'll talk about the Submittable platform where our application is housed. Submittable will serve as TDA's Hurricane Helene Agriculture and Timber Relief Funds application system. The application link can be accessed by visiting the Tennessee Department of Agriculture's Hurricane Helene Agricultural and Timber Relief Fund webpage, which is also located in the chat. Applicants will be prompted to create a free submittable account before beginning the application. Applicants that require translation services, which will be provided at no cost to the applicant, should email ag.recovery, recovery, @tn.gov. Now, let's discuss the application process. Our application process is arranged in 3 steps, beginning with the eligibility form. Those questions verify county, legal owner or lessee, minimum acreage, etc. If deemed eligible, you'll move on to step 2, completing the applicant information form, which entails a KBA or knowledge-based authentication quiz, and general loss information where you'll enter the total number of request forms that you'll need. You'll need 1 per form or forest land. Then, once submitted, you'll be sent an email from Submittable for your request form. Finally, on step 3, applicants will complete 1 request form per specific farm or forest land, and a confirmation email will be sent after each form. So that means if you have more than 1 farm or forest land, each time you complete that form, you'll be sent a confirmation for each separate one. Now, on to a few more important application reminders. The application will remain open until July 21st at 5 p.m. Eastern. All forms must be submitted by that time. Reviewers may request additional documentation via submittable, so you want to make sure to check your spam for emails. Applicants are expected to respond to inquiries within 7 calendar days of the request. Extensions may be provided for extenuating circumstance. Just be sure to communicate that. Applicants that require translation services, again, should email us at ag.recovery@tn.gov. Now, for technical assistance, Submittable has its own help center. That information can be located at the bottom of the application where it is linked. Submittable's Help Center has answers to many frequently asked questions. And for additional support, you can contact their technical assistance for submitters. Inquiries are responded to Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mandy to review information regarding funding decisions.
Thank you, Mary. So now that we walked through the application process, we're going to shift gears and talk about what happens after submission. So I'm going to walk you through how funding decisions are made, when applicants can expect to hear back, and what the payment process will look like. Funding decisions will be emailed to applicants by September 15th, which is around 8 weeks after the application period closes. Final awards may be adjusted depending on the volume of applications and total funding requested. However, awards will not exceed 90% of eligible losses. Approved applicants can expect to receive payment in the fall of 2026. One important step to highlight is that the supplier registration in Edison is required. So in order to receive payment, you'll need that. If applicants are not currently registered in our Edison system, TDA will provide support to assist all applicants through this process. Next slide. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the applicant resources that are available to you. We really strongly encourage all applicants to visit the Hurricane Helene Agriculture and Timber Relief Fund webpage. This page serves as a central hub for the application and all supporting materials that you may need. There you will find the application link, TDA contact information, frequently asked questions, the required documentation, and the resources needed to apply. There will also be training recordings, including application training modules that will be available on our webpage soon. In addition, UT Extension is available to support applicants and provide a guidance throughout the application process. These resources are here to help you submit a complete application. Next slide. So for those applying under the timber loss category, there are a few additional requirements to keep in mind. Applicants must work with an accredited forester to develop a forest management plan. This plan includes site evaluation, verification of damage, and recommended recovery actions. A directory of accredited foresters is available on the program webpage to help get you started. Additionally, the Forest Management Plan Assistance Payment provides partial reimbursement for the cost of developing this plan. Please do note that an invoice is required in order to receive reimbursement. Next slide. So before we continue, we'd like to open it up for some questions based on the content we've covered so far. So feel free to drop any of your questions in the chat or raise your hand and I'll take a few moments to address them. There will also be a Q&A session at the end if you'd like to wait until that time as well.
Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, we're going to take a few questions here just based off of what we've said, and then we're going to pass over to our vendor who's helping us with the actual application portal to do a high-level walkthrough for you guys. So that will be what's next, and then we'll take even more questions on that. But we did have one question that popped up in the chat already that I'd like to point out, as I do see that we do have one person joining us by phone and is not privy to the chat. But the question was, what about loss of market hay sales? that are due to destroyed grassland. So we have one of our business consultants working on that question right now. We don't have an answer at this exact moment, but Mark, if we do not get your question answered before the end of this webinar, I have your email address and we will reach out to you. It was a two-part question though. It said, what about the loss of cattle sales due to grasslands being destroyed? And unfortunately, cattle loss sales are not covered under this program. We have a question from KJ. She says, is a new forest management plan required, or is the existing one adequate? Note, did contact my forester and he said that my existing plan remains valid given the damage. Heather or Shane, could you speak to that question?
Yeah, sure. I can take it. Thank you for that question. And the existing plan can help inform the required plan. So they don't necessarily have to be completely redone, but there are elements in the required documentation that I imagine would be new to you and to the consulting forester. Specifically the actual measurement of the damage and then the applied rate to that damage. So it can be used to help inform the new plan, but it would not suffice completely.
Thank you, Heather. Mary asked in the chat if we could show where the list of foresters is located. So I have dropped that link in the chat, as well as the direct link that goes to the direct list, which we are using through the Tennessee Forestry Association. Anthony has asked, could we please go back to the slide that shows the 3 steps for applying? Rachel, could you do that? Rachel, do you want to talk about these 3 steps just one more time?
Sure. So yes, so it's basically, as Samantha and Mary mentioned, this is a 3-step process. So the first step is really just getting in and completing your eligibility, just a simple list of questions. And once you're deemed eligible, you'll be taken immediately to the initial application, which is where you'll just fill in your basic information, your applicant information, your mailing address. You'll have to do a quick KBA, knowledge-based authentication quiz. And you'll also enter the general loss information. So how many farms or forest lands you will be submitting a request form for. And you will also you'll indicate for which categories you'll be submitting losses as well. And then you'll be asked just to attest that your information is accurate. Once you do that, you will receive an email with a link to access your request forms, and we'll actually show you that in a live demo. And you'll just click on that link, you'll follow the steps, and then you'll fill out a request form, 1 per farm or forest land, with each of the different categories of loss that you will be submitting a request for. So if you have 1 farm with infrastructure and market loss, you will submit 1 request form for that farm with both losses. And say you have another property with timber loss, you'll submit a separate form for that timber loss. So again, I think this will become a little bit more clear when we do the live demo in just a second.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat from Chris Mackey, also about forest land. What if the timber and the land they sat on are gone? Heather, is that enough information?
Well, I can just speak to the timber can be submitted as a complete loss. So you can certainly have a consulting forester come out there and be able to fill out the required documents to document the actual complete loss of the timber. I don't know. I mean, we're not covering the complete land loss here. It's usually what is being grown or was present on the property before the storm hit. But I will say that if your trees are completely gone, then I would strongly encourage you to document that and apply for timber loss.
Also a reminder, if anyone wants to raise their hand to ask their question, please do so. I can see those and can unmute you if you prefer that over putting a question in the chat. So we were able to get the second part of Mark's question answered. This was specifically about hay loss. So the answer is that regarding market loss for hay sales, hay is not usually considered a specialty crop under USDA specialty crop guidance. However, certain hay varieties are perennial, so we will need to confirm with USDA for requirements for this type of perennial. I do see that Mark has asked a follow-up question, though. It says, since hay is a crop that I grow to provide hay for cattle and sale to individual farmers, since my grassland that produced my hay crop is gone, am I eligible for relief? Matthew, are you able to?
Yeah,
answer
yeah,
that?
I'll be glad to jump on them if I
Thank
can
you.
turn my. We are, again, this is a specialty crop block grant. So generally we're talking more of your, fruits and vegetables and things of that nature. However, the language does talk about some perennials. And so we're going to try and confirm if a hay crop is a perennial type crop, if that is allowable expense or not. So we're going to work on that answer, and we will get back an answer, Mark, for you on that. But hay in general, most likely not, but if it is perennial, maybe. So we're going to try and work on that for you and get you an answer. But thank you for the question.
Thank you, Matthew. I don't see any hands raised right now, but I will give a little bit more time if anyone is working on a question in the chat to please submit that. If something comes up while we move on to the next part of our presentation, you can absolutely still leave that in the chat and we'll have our team work on it in there. But seeing no hands raised, I think we can pass it over to Megan Hughes. Megan Hughes is with Submittable, which is our vendor who is running our application portal for us and is going to give us kind of an overview of that application process and answer any questions. Megan.
Thank you, Samantha. I'm going to share my screen on the landing page. So give me one moment. Can you all see my screen? Perfect. Okay, this is the program webpage where you'll start. As you can see, this page will provide the clear overview of the program, your eligibility criteria, and also some key resources that may be helpful as you go through the application process. When you're ready, you will click Apply at the top of the page. From there, you're taken to the eligibility form, this landing page prior to the eligibility form. Here again, you'll see some of these tips for using Submittable, the key links that'll take you to how to return to a safe draft, notification emails. This stuff will follow you through the application, so no worries if you don't click it here, but turns out you need it a little bit later on. These links are also included in the application, so you can access them at any time. When you're ready, you'll click Apply at the bottom of the page, and here you'll find the eligibility form. You'll answer just a few questions to determine if you're eligible, and if eligible, you'll automatically continue into the next step. So this question about owning or leasing property that was damaged within the specific counties, I'm going to answer yes, select a county, and then continue on. Here's where we'll select the type of loss, and then just confirmations that we're eligible and confirmations about the land classification, agreeing to responsibilities, and verifying. So this is just a quick run through of eligibility, and that will, as long as you're eligible, get you in to the initial form. This is where the real application begins. So this is your initial application form. As you progress through it, you can save your draft. It will auto save every 15-30 seconds. But if you're feeling weird about it and want to scroll all the way down, at any time you can click this button, Save Draft, and make sure all the progress, uploads, and such that you've done in this form are saved and current. I'll scroll back up to the top and we'll begin here. Again, these are those links you saw on the landing page, so you'll be able to navigate to the top of this form and click them at any time. And right here is where we begin. You'll enter key details like your name, type of business, your address, email, phone number, W-9, and just continue down this initial form until it is completed. There is a section here for knowledge-based authentication. What you'll do is click proceed and fill out first name, last name, date of birth, social security email, and your address. After that, you'll be prompted with 5 knowledge-based authentication questions. These are questions similar to like when logging into a financial institution. It just verifies your identity and makes sure you are who you say you are when filling out this application. And then you'll be able to continue and proceed. The next section of the application is where you'll enter the general loss information. I'll specify the number of farms or forest lands that I'll be submitting for, the type of loss experienced, and then in this section below, read through the attestations and verify that I have done so and that the statements I'm making are correct, truthful, and accurate. At the bottom of the page, you'll find a space to sign, describe your capacity or title, and then click in and determine the date that you signed. Again, at any point, save your draft. You can come back to it. I'll show you in a moment where that will live if you have saved a draft right before you submit. But when you're ready to submit, you'll click apply here. Once you click apply, and obviously I didn't fill out all of these required fields, so I won't be able to, but once you click apply, you'll receive an email. Can you all see this? Okay. This is what the email will look like. It's just confirmation that, hey, we've received your application. You can visit your submittable account by following this link and then complete those additional request forms that we mentioned associated with each of the farms or forest lands that you'll be applying for. You can follow the link through this email directly to get into that view, or you can just log into Submittable and I'll show you that interface as well. Once you log into Submittable, you'll see submissions and my submissions. Obviously, there are a lot here. It's because we've been testing the program, but you'll likely only see one. You'll click the submission name. And again, you'll see that same email that you got in your inbox. It will be represented here in this activity tab on Submittable. And to complete the request form as it's described in your email, you'll navigate to the Forms tab where you'll see the Farm Forest Land Information Request Form. The initial form that you see up here is the one that you just filled out and clicked apply to submit. So if you need to go back and reference any of your answers here, you can do so. You can also look at the files that you've uploaded in case there's any questions about, did I upload the right one, or what information did I put here, just to double check. You can review this initial form. Prior to going into the request forms, I'm just going to show you where you can find your drafts. If you saved a draft before you clicked apply and submittable, you'll navigate to the drafts tab where you can click continue on the draft, and it will bring you right back into that application where you left off. Everything that you had entered will be saved, and then you can continue to complete your application and click apply. Going back to my submissions, again, over to forms to complete the request forms and open. This is the request form for you to begin filling out once you've clicked apply and submitted that initial form. So you'll enter your farm or forest land name. You can also enter the property address, but as mentioned previously, you'll enter the latitude and longitude of the address. Upload documents like proof of ownership, land use classification, and then in this section, you'll go into detail about loss. So you'll select the type of loss that is applicable to the farm or forest land you're submitting in this request form. You can choose the specific type of infrastructure loss here. And then a section on requirements, confirming that your loss meets those requirements. And then you'll find a table where you can enter your loss item. Let's just say bridge, for example. My total eligible loss is 100,000, and say I've received other funding that's covered a portion of this, 25,000. You'll see that in column D here, net loss is automatically calculated for you to reduce your total eligible loss by any payments you may have received attributed to that loss item. As you enter information in here, make sure not to use the $ or commas because we have math running in the background. It can get a little clunky if you do. Just enter whole numbers. You can enter decimal numbers too if needed, but stick to just number formatting. Once you click out of the table, the calculation will run. So if you notice before I submitted or filled out other payments received and I'm in here typing, it's not automatically calculating in that moment, but if you just click on the screen outside of that table, that tells the back end to do the math. Again, throughout the form, there are sections where you'll need to upload documentation, and you'll do so by just selecting Choose File and then navigating to the file that you want to upload and uploading it like that. At the bottom of each upload field, you'll see acceptable file types. So if you're trying to upload a document that isn't one of these file types and you're receiving errors or not able to attach it, just remember to double check and see what the acceptable file types are as listed here and that your document matches one of these. Once you complete this, you'll click Submit Form. That will submit this request form. If you in your initial form listed that you're submitting for more than one farm or forest land, you'll go through the same process where you navigate to the submission, to forms, and you'll see the request form you just submitted there, but now you're submitting for your second one. You'll click continue again under request forms to initiate that new instance of the request form for however many eligible farms or forest lands you wish to submit for. Any questions about this process?
Remember, if you'd like to raise your hand to ask a question audibly, you can do that and we will unmute you. Also of note, we will be adding training modules to our website that walk through each type of loss and explain how to complete the request form for each one of those. So those will be coming onto our website soon. You'll stay tuned. All right, I think I saw one hand raised. Did you already? Oh, there it is. Charles has a question. Charles, I believe you're unmuted. Oh, well, you have lowered your hand. There you go. If you keep your hand raised, that's what allows me to unmute you. All right.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear
Can
you.
you hear me now? Sorry, I jumped on a little late. This is Charles Odo Mountain Recreation Area. We have a carbon program here, and you may have addressed this. I saw this in a question. I think this answers the question I'm about to ask, but I just want to make sure I understand. We lost over 500 acres of just blowdown, so we're dealing with all that, and then the cleanup of that, how to manage that, the loss in revenue from the carbon program itself. We'll have to do an evaluation of those areas, and that will be more or less deducted from revenue. Did I read this correctly that we can apply for relief for that?
Are you talking
Yeah, Charles,
specifically?
I can jump in there, Samantha. Charles,
Thank
that's
you.
a really, really good question. I'm glad you asked that. And I know that your situation up there at Dove Mountain is quite unique. And I would think that it'd be better maybe if you and I had a conversation about that, because I'm thinking about the insurance pools that are attached to your carbon project and how if you are to utilize those quote unquote insurance pools, how would we document that into this application if the loss of carbon as a loss is eligible? And I mean, I will be, honest and transparent. A carbon project never really came up during our discussions with USDA as an eligible loss. However, it is a value attached to timber. So we can certainly get in touch after this call and have a longer conversation about it, because I think it is really unique, and I'll be excited to talk to you about that.
Okay, but that's great. Also, but just the cleanup of those areas where all that blowdown is, and it's going to be ripe for a forest fire one day. Is there any help in? And I apologize for hopping on a little late, but is there help in cleaning those areas up?
The FSA, the Farm Services Agency, does have a EFRP program, and I believe some of that information has been put in the chat. And
Okay.
that could, if you talk to FSA, that you might be eligible for cleanup assistance via that program. But the one that there's the timber portion that we're offering is just the value of the timber lost.
Yeah.
So we were
Okay.
trying to make sure we were dovetailing where FSA or existing programs didn't cover is what we are trying to cover in this program.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. And Charles, for certain, reach out to me afterwards, because I'd love to talk to you further about the carbon program.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather.
Sure.
Thank you both. Rachel, if you could roll back to the slide that talks about the submittable technical issues. We have a question in the chat from Glenn. Who and how do we make contact for questions for submittable? And that is a great question. If you're having tech issues with the application itself, there is a separate way to get in touch with submittable. So I think that is a link on your PowerPoint. Is that right, Rachel? We'll need to put that in the chat for Glenn.
Yep. I will do that in just a second. Absolutely.
But yeah, there is a help center within that. Megan, did you want to talk any more about your help center?
Sure, yeah. In the Help Center, you'll find really helpful articles about how to do specific actions in Submittable, most of which are linked throughout the application that are relevant. But if you run into anything specific for your use case that you need help with, that's a great place to start. If you can't find what you're looking for or just need to ask a very specific question, you can also reach out to technical support. Inquiries are responded to, as you see here, Monday through Friday, 11 to 7 Eastern. So within 24 hours, you'll receive a response from our support team to your question. So either one of those places is a good resource if you run into any issues.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, we've dropped the link to that help center in the chat for those who can access the chat. One question from Mark Carr concerning his family farm is in a trust in which he is the only remaining living member of. So how would he go about proving sole ownership of that trust and all of the farmland in it to prove eligibility? Rachel, this may be a legal question that we may not be able to answer.
Mary has some information
Okay.
as well, so she might be able to provide a little bit, but you're correct. This may end up being more of a question for your legal representation.
Would you repeat the question for me, please?
Absolutely. My family farm is in a trust in which I'm the only remaining living member. How do I prove my sole ownership of this trust and all of the farmland in it to prove eligibility?
You need trust documentation. I, off the top of my head, can't think of the exact name of what that document is. But there should be legal documentation showing that you are the legal owner. If you can bear with me for about 2 seconds, I can see if I can find that for you.
While Mary is looking for that, if there are any other people who wanted to raise their hands, remember that is an option and we can unmute you to ask your question. If you have any questions after our webinar, if something comes to your mind, I know a lot of times when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about it. But if that does come back up, just a reminder that we can be reached out to at ag.recovery@tn.gov by email, and then also our phone number, toll free 833-616-6700, or a 615 local number, which is 837-5241. I think I saw another hand pop up. Chris has a question. Chris, you'll have to unmute yourself, but you're able to talk now. Yeah, Chris. There you go, Chris. We should be able to hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm hosting a webinar up here in Unicoi County, and I have a gentleman in here who has a question. He did participate in the FSA program with the debris removal, and he was curious if that is, if the other portion that wasn't covered would still be eligible for this round of this application.
So you're asking if if this fund would cover cleanup?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct what he's asking.
So our program for timber loss, the payment that's made is simply for the value lost in timber. So with the FSA EFRP program or other programs similar, those programs pay landowners to enact a conservation strategy, whether that's to remove debris for cleanup and regeneration and so forth. Whereas this program is simply paying for timber loss. So yes, that property would still be eligible. Again, we're paying for the loss, so we wouldn't be paying for cleanup per se. It would just be for the timber value that was lost.
Chris,
Does
does
that
that
make
answer
sense?
your question?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, and UT Extension has been partnering with us on this process. So the extension agents who are in your county are also a great resource if you have additional questions or need help walking through the application process. So that is another resource that we want to bring up to the top and let you all know about. All right, any other questions in the chat? Now's your chance to put that in there or to raise your hand. I know we're coming up on the 1 hour. Okay, Mark has a question. Mark says, since my barn and other infrastructure items were totally swept away, I can't produce pictures of the damaged items as there is nothing left. What do I do?
I mean, I can jump in there. Oh, sorry, Rachel. I was just going to offer that as long as we have accurate address and location in lat and long, then we can use past aerial photography to actually confirm that there was a barn existing there. But we would definitely need your assistance in describing the dimensions and the use and the actual footprint of the barn. But we would have to have some kind of documentation that the barn was there in the first place. But Rachel, sorry if you wanted to add anything else to that.
No, that was perfect. Thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah, Emily in the chat has asked, this may already be answered, but how do we find a list of who is eligible to prepare plans? And that's talking about accredited foresters. So that list is available on our website. We'll drop the link again in the chat. But if you roll all the way down to the bottom, it's on the bottom right-hand side under forestry resources. And then we've also put a direct link in the chat for the directory, as the directory we're using does come from the Tennessee Forestry Association. Heather, follow-up question. There are only 2 listed in Emily's region. Do we anticipate a lot of backlog?
Well, we hope not, but we have designed the management plan and the damage assessment to be very streamlined and the assessments to be done in pretty short order. So we're not expecting these accredited foresters to actually do a full-blown inventory on the forest. They can utilize, drones or aerial photography or just ocular estimation of the damage. So the lift is not very heavy when it comes to filling out that documentation. And we have been reaching out to those accredited foresters over the past couple weeks, in fact, as recently as yesterday, to make sure that they are dialed in and they're aware and they are expected to help us. Will help you gain access to this program. And one thing that we didn't talk about is there is a cost share portion of the program that we're trying to offset the cost of these accredited foresters for you. So we are doing everything that we can on the TDA side to make sure that these accredited foresters are completely engaged and are available. And there's been several that have signed up to be on the Tennessee Accredited Forester list that actually from North Carolina, Western North Carolina, because we've been reaching out to other foresters across the proximal to the damage site, so we can hurry up and get them on the list. So I feel pretty confident that there are going to be enough accredited foresters to be able to service the area.
Thank you, Heather. Additional question from John. What about corn and soybeans ready for harvest that was destroyed? Are those eligible?
Yeah, in this grant, I can answer that. In this grant, particularly, we're talking about perennial crops. We're not talking about corn and soybeans. So unfortunately, with this grant, those are not eligible items.
Again, we've got all of our contact information on the screen, how you can get in touch with us. Easiest is ag.recovery@tn.gov. Jillian asks, is there a plan for farmers or forest landowners with less than 10 acres? I can answer that question if no one else is jumping in. This is currently right now for 10 acres or more. Okay. I know we're running over our time right now. We do not have anything else to present, but we are happy to stay in here and answer some more questions. But if people need to drop, we totally understand. I do want, before people leave, Rachel, can you click over? We do have a webinar survey that if you have the time to give us some feedback on how this webinar went for you today and any questions that maybe lingered that we didn't answer, please scan that QR code and let us know how we did and give us that feedback. But yeah, if anyone needs to drop, I recognize we're over time, but we will still hang out here and answer questions. Yes, Mark asked, can someone email me with the answer to the hay crop question? Absolutely, Mark. I'm giving your email information to our Assistant Commissioner Matthew Wade, and he can get in touch with you. Sarah Arnold asked, is it 10 acres of continuous tree damage or 10 acres in total? Heather?
Yeah, it'd be a minimum of 10 acres in total of your contiguous forest ownership. And then on that 10 acres, there's a minimum damage estimate of 16%.
Samantha, I did put an answer to that question about the trust in our chat. It's a little bit long, so if that person wants to provide their email, I can certainly get them an email with that information as well.
Yeah, I believe that question came from Mark as well, and that is who we
Okay,
are reaching out to about hay. So I think we
perfect.
could include that when Mark, we'll include that information when we reach out about your other question.
Awesome. Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah. Chris has asked, other than extension agents, are there any organizations or technical support that can help producers fill out the online applications? I might need a little more information about that as far as what your technical support, if you're talking about maybe like ADA support or things of that nature, UT Extension can help with that. Translation services are also available if someone needs that in a different language. But Chris, I can unmute you if you want to give more context to that question. Let me find you. You have the ability to unmute yourself if you want.
I think I'm unmuted right now. Appreciate it. No, someone was asking can they just pay somebody like as a service to fill out the application if they want to, which as an extension agent, just want to put that out there. If you are needing help with that application, I know we are more than happy to help with that. But there was questions, is there other entities, groups, whatever that have the capability of helping them fill this out?
Mary or Rachel?
Yeah, I think at this time, Chris, it's really as you stated, the UT Extension agent. Obviously, if there's specific questions around documentation or requirements, we are here to help as well. So feel free to email or call our office and we can help with that. But that's pretty much our, main support lines at this time. But, happy to look into others if needed.
Thank you. So John asks a question, if TDA will have a program for row crops lost or damaged. So we're always evaluating programs, but right now this specific program is a USDA funded program, and that is why it's covering what it is covering. There are other USDA programs that may cover the row crops that are lost or damaged, which is why it's not underneath this. Matthew, do you have any insight maybe on other programs specifically?
At this point, livestock, I'm not livestock, but crop insurance, yield, when it comes to yield or loss, should be kind of the first go-to on that. And at this time, I don't know if there's anything on the horizon for TDA as we stand here today and look at that. So unfortunately today, right now, the crop insurance is probably the best bet for you. I don't know about NRCS, if they have any plans that might help with that as well, but pretty much just the insurance is what's available that I'm aware of at this moment.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, I think we can make our final call for questions. If you have any additional questions, please put them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Again, if you think of anything after our webinar has concluded, you can email us at ag.recovery@tn.gov. We also have our phone numbers. Soraya has put them in the chat, but those are toll-free 833-616-6700 or a 615-837-5241. All right, I don't see any hands raised or any more questions. So I think we can conclude our webinar. Thank you all for joining us so much and taking this time out. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly if you have any more concerns or questions. Thank you, everyone.